They literally held you hostage and took you to the brink of starvation, all for nothing, just to end up right back where they were when this all started. But nobody's going to acknowledge that. Nah, I don't care. It's Trump's fault.
We are not sure exactly why they waited so long, but it appears 8 senators chose suffering Americans over their own political futures. The 8 Democrats bucked their own party leaders to advance a new bill to fund the government, step 1 in reopening. And they are facing punishment now by members of the Democrat Party. Politico's top headline this morning calls it a dim civil war. Quote, the Senate moved forward with a procedural vote that should mean this record-breaking crisis is finally coming to an end. What replaces it is the eruption of an ugly Democrat civil war as the party rips itself to shreds for dealing across the aisle. End of quote. Senator Bernie Sanders.
8 Democrats voted with the Republicans to allow them to go forward on this continuing resolution. And to my mind, this was a very, very bad vote.
Liberal California Congressman Ro Khanna went scorched earth on leadership. He posted this: Senator Schumer is no longer effective and should be replaced. California Governor Gavin Newsom called the vote pathetic and said that America deserves better. Yeah, they just simply want people to starve. Let that sink in. Well, when it comes to the direction of the Democrat Party, it seems to be headed in one direction, really far left.
The most powerful part of the Democratic Party now is the progressive wing, which until a couple of weeks ago was the AOC Bernie wing. Now it's the AOC Bernie Mamdani wing.
Now, remember their politics, all for free food, apparently, but not when you really need it. Power Panel in focus: Matt Gorman, Republican strategist and executive vice president of Targeted Victory; Jose Aristimuño, former DNC press secretary.
If you are someone who exercises common sense, rational thinking, if you're a person who just wants to feed your family, or you want to live in a country that creates an environment where you can prosper, you're just going to have to resign to the fact that you're going to have a significant number of people within America, people who claim they are your neighbors, just hating you for no reason. Because I have witnessed one of the most acute displays of cognitive dissonance I've ever seen in my life. I'm talking about, at this point, guys, people don't want to understand what's going on. It's not an issue of of the inability to comprehend. People legitimately don't want to understand. And if someone dares to try to explain to them what's going on, they hate that person. They literally throw rocks at that person. Not literally, but they're figuratively like throwing rocks at that person. How dare you try to help us understand how we're being abused? Listen to me. People truly believe that the Republican Party is responsible for the government shutdown. Therefore, they believe that the Republican Party has robbed them of their food stamps, has robbed government workers of their paycheck. Yet, now that some Democrats have split with their party and they have decided to vote to open up the government, which party is angry with those people about choosing to open up the government? Which party is angry with the 8 Democrat senators who are choosing to vote with Republicans to open up the government? The only people angry is Democrats, which proves to you that Democrats were the party that wanted to keep the government closed, which means they were the party that wanted to keep your SNAP benefits frozen. They were the party that wanted to keep the air traffic controllers from getting their paychecks. They literally are angry at the 8 Democrat senators who are now going to vote to open up the government, but yet they're trying to tell you that it was Trump and the Republicans who were keeping the government closed. It makes absolutely no sense and is diabolical. If they're mad, why are they angry about the government being open if all this time they've been telling you, hey, we want to open the government for you? And now the Democrat senators who are actually voting to open up the government, they are literally calling them traitors. They're calling them traitors.
Come to you. 8 heroes is what we should call them, because I can't even imagine politically what this feels like. Now, some of them are retiring, and I have said before, maybe that takes, some sort of blame away from them, or maybe not. Your thoughts?
Look, Harris, what a beautiful thing when we come to the middle and we practice moderate
We didn't come
politics.
to the middle. You had 8 people reach an agreement, some of them retiring, that maybe starving Americans might be a better way to go, suffering Americans,
let me tell you,
than your own politics. Don't sugarcoat it.
Sure.
So he's just talking trash, but I love the way Harris Faulkner is on him, and she's not going to back down. This guy is a Democrat. He says, what a beautiful thing when my party comes to the middle and we can agree. No. 8 Democrats came to the middle. 8 Democrats came to the middle, and there are 42. Wait, 8. Yeah, 8 Democrats came to the middle. There are 40 Democrats who were perfectly fine with allowing the American people to starve. There were 40 Democrats that were fine with allowing the American people to starve. 8 decided to do the right thing, probably because most of them are retiring, so they don't have to worry about getting reelected. And if it wasn't for these 8 Democrats, the government would stay shut down. And just in case you don't know, there are 2 separate issues here. And I want everybody to understand that. We are not voting. Listen, there's 2 issues. One issue is to open the government and fund the government while Congress, the Senate negotiates on a permanent funding bill for the next fiscal year, right? The other issue is whether or not the Republicans will extend the ACA or Obamacare, because you notice they don't want to call it Obamacare anymore because it's terrible, or whether the president or the Republicans will extend the Obamacare ACA subsidies. So there's 2 separate issues here. What the Republicans are asking the Democrats is this: look, we don't agree on the healthcare stuff, but vote on this continuing resolution so that we can keep the government open while we negotiate the budget. Let's negotiate the subsidies for the Affordable Care Act. The Democrats are like, hell no. We're not even going to keep the government open so we can negotiate. We're going to refuse to vote in favor of the continuing resolution so the government shuts down, and 64 million Americans suffer. 40 million of them can't get their paychecks because they're government employees, and 20 million of them cannot get their food stamp benefits, right? Or it might be reversed. It might be 20 million can't get their money, their paychecks because they work for the government, and 40 million are suffering because they can't get their food stamp benefit. Understand that. So the Democrat Party is not saying they won't vote on a final funding bill which doesn't fund the Affordable Care Act subsidies. They're saying they won't even vote on a bill to keep the government open so that the subsidies can be negotiated. This is some of the worst. This is one of the worst examples of politicians catering to corporations that I've ever seen. And a lot of people don't realize that there is a connection between these Democrats and the corporations. And I'm going to explain it to you after this, because this is really all about election money. You might not realize that, but this is all about the Democrats staying loyal to the healthcare companies, because when they try to run it, because when the midterms come, they need that donation money. And when the general election comes in 2028, they need that healthcare syndicate money. This is them trying to protect the money that they guaranteed from the government to the healthcare companies like Kaiser, Humana, Blue Cross, Blue Shield, etc.
Well, look, the reality is that when you put country first, we can move the country forward. We did it in Virginia, that's what we want. We did it in New Jersey, that's what we want. When my party comes to the middle and we talk to Republicans like regular human beings, we can do really, really well.
Why only
I'm very
8?
happy. I applaud these 8 senators. Well, I am very happy these 8 Democrats have coming forward. Let's reopen our government. By the way, this does not mean that we should not be talking about the subsidies for Obamacare. I think that's important. And
That's
I think
been
if
on the table for
Republicans do not
2.5
get their acts
weeks
together
to do at the
when
end
it
of
comes-
the CR.
I think we should reopen the government, and then we can talk about subsidies. But if we do not talk about subsidies for Obamacare, I think Republicans would do very, very bad come the midterm elections in 2026.
Matt.
No, look, I love how Democrats are taking a victory lap for finally accepting reality. And
So he says, I think we should first reopen the government, then we could talk about subsidies for Obamacare. You could have did that 2 weeks ago. You could have did that a month ago. That's literally what the Republicans were saying. They said, let's reopen the government and then we can negotiate Obamacare. And now the Democrats are singing the same song. It's like they believe and it's like they know that the people who vote for them just either are too busy to pay attention or they're just too dumb to understand. They literally held you hostage and took you to the brink of starvation, all for nothing, just to end up right back where they were when this all started. But you know, nobody's going to acknowledge that. Nah, I don't care. It's Trump's fault.
They were upset, including leaders in the Democratic Party. Here's Bernie Sanders. Tonight was a very bad night. Zohran Mamdani, the new socialist mayor of New York, elect, he should be rejected, as should any politics willing to compromise on the basic needs of working people.
But as the mayor, he doesn't get a vote in this. So.
That's right. You got Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. People want us to hold the line for a reason. This is not a matter of appealing to a base. It's about people's lives, Brian.
Yeah, Newsom, who he's now playing the role of tough guy. It's hard to know what role he's playing because he changes so much. We saw capitulation and betrayal of working Americans. The American people need more from their leaders, and this is Chuck Schumer. America's in the midst of a Republican-made health care crisis, a crisis of so severe, so urgent, and so devastating the American family. Okay, I can't even finish reading this. Here's the thing
Look
about
at Ro Khanna.
Yeah, Ro Khanna, Senator Schumer should go. No longer effective to be replaced. He should be replaced. You can't lead the fight to stop health care premiums from skyrocketing for Americans. What will you fight for? But just real quick, what are you talking about? Obamacare is a thing that it needed emergency funding that was supposed to expire because Joe Biden's program says, we know this is unsustainable, get us through the pandemic, throw money at it, but we're going to expire it. There's a rescue package that we didn't need. So with that going away, how is this Republican healthcare crisis? Right. Don't say farcical things.
That's the problem. When you try to fix a problem during COVID or during a pandemic or during an emergency, then they continuously want to continue it on. But we don't have the money to fund that. Also,
Ainsley, this is not Chuck Schumer. This is not who he is. This is legislation that he's voted for in the past. This sudden wind in his sails where he has to fight every little thing. You can't hold the entire country hostage just so you can win your primary if AOC challenges you.
He saw that Zohran Mamdani is a no on this. He saw that Zohran won in New York City. He knows that AOC was campaigning with him, help him get over the line, and he did. So New York likes both of them. They like these socialists, these progressives. So Chuck Schumer, I think, he looked at what he did last March. He got a lot of flack for that from his constituents because they're so progressive. And I think now he's saying, I really want to win my primary. I'm probably going to be up against AOC.
So I thought so.
Yeah, so my thing is this. Chuck Schumer is old as hell. Why does he even want to run again? At this point, this will be the part where I bow out gracefully. I'd say, you know what? I had a good run. The party is leaving me behind. They're going crazy. I want to be remembered as one of the good Democrats who tried to hold the line and keep people sane. Chuck Schumer, damn near 80 years old, selling the country up the river because he wants another term as U.S. Senator. It makes no sense. But let me read something to you, which is funny, that I read earlier to kind of sum all this up. Okay, the Affordable Care Act is also known as Obamacare, right? The ACA originally was passed by the Democrat Party. Obamacare was passed by the Democrat Party. The Obamacare subsidies, when they realized that the program didn't work and they realized that the government was going to have to foot the bill for the American people, the subsidies were passed by the Democrats under Biden, right? So they passed the ACA under Obama. They passed the subsidies under Biden. The Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare sunset, meaning the time when the Obamacare subsidies would expire and the process of dismantling Obamacare will begin, that was also passed by the Democrats under Biden. Now, the clean CR filibuster was the Democrats then filibustered the clean CR, meaning the continuing resolution where there really wouldn't be anything decided. It would just keep the government funded while negotiations continued. That was committed by the Democrats, right? But somehow, though the Democrats voted all this stuff into law, they're the ones who are currently filibustering the continuing resolution. Somehow all this is Republicans' fault.